Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. United States approved $385 million arms sale to Taiwan as President Lai Ching-te starts a sensitive Pacific trip. Ray of hope for Gaza peace as Hamas delegation to hold ceasefire talks in Cairo. Hezbollah pledges to implement truce with Israel. Fierce fight erupts in Syria. Rebel forces enter Aleppo in surprise offensive. Army closes all highways, waits for Russian support. And Cyclone Fengal likely to make landfall today. Red alert for Indian states of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. So peace process for Gaza is set to resume today as a Hamas delegation will arrive in Cairo on Saturday for talks with Egyptian officials on a possible ceasefire in Gaza. The visit comes days after the United States said it would begin new efforts with Qatar, Egypt and Turkey to revive Gaza ceasefire talks. The United States has also announced a new diplomatic effort with Qatar, Turkey and Egypt to reach a Gaza ceasefire and the release of hostages taken during Hamas's October 7, 2023 attacks on Israel that set off the current fighting. The only ceasefire so far in November 2023 saw the release of about 100 hostages by Hamas and its allies in exchange for 240 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. The announcement came 2 days after a ceasefire went into effect between Israel and the Lebanese group Hezbollah. The head of Hezbollah, Naim Qassem, pledged on Friday to coordinate closely with the Lebanese army to implement a ceasefire deal with Israel. In his first televised address since the ceasefire came into effect, Qassem said Hezbollah had approved the deal with the resistance strong in the battlefield and our heads held high with our right to defend ourselves. The ceasefire stipulates that Hezbollah will withdraw from areas south of the Litani River and that the Lebanese army will deploy troops there as Israeli ground troops withdraw. Now, Syria is witnessing fierce fight between rebels and government-led forces. Syrian rebel fighters took control of several neighborhoods in Aleppo, Syria's second largest city, as clashes continued with government forces on Friday. To stop forward movement by the rebels, the Syrian army closed major roads in and out of Aleppo, issuing safe withdrawals orders to troops in certain neighborhoods. Checkpoints around the city were instructed to allow only military personnel to enter or exit, effectively sealing off Aleppo. Syrian authorities also closed Aleppo airport and cancelled all flights on Saturday as rebels opposed to President Bashar al-Assad are moving forward to take control of the city. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said key Syrian town of Sarakhib was also taken over by the jihadist groups. Friday's advancement in Aleppo is part of a major offensive launched by Syrian rebels and their allies that began Wednesday. By Friday, opposition fighters led by the Islamist militant group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham captured over 50 towns and villages in northern Syria. Russia, a key ally of Assad, has pledged additional military aid to help repel the rebels, with new equipment expected to arrive within the next 72 hours. The rebels are returning to the city for the first time since 2016. Meanwhile, a video posted on social media shows students rushing down the stairs of student housing at the university in the government-held city of Aleppo after an artillery shell fell. The official news agency of Syria reported death of 4 people in the strike. Moving on, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiha has called on NATO members to extend an invitation to Ukraine to join the military alliance during a meeting in Brussels next week. The letter reflects Ukraine's renewed push to secure an invitation to join NATO, which is part of a victory plan outlined last month by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to end the conflict. In an interview with UK-based news channel, Zelensky says offering Ukraine NATO membership while allowing Russia to retain some captured territory for now could be a potential solution. Ukraine further said it accepts that it cannot join the alliance until the war is over, but extending an invitation would show that no one can prevent Kiev from becoming a NATO member. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron reaffirmed his support for Ukraine in a phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky on Friday. Macron reiterated his condemnation of an escalation in Russia-Ukraine conflict, while Zelensky mentioned that he had a productive telephone conversation with Macron. He also thanked him for France's readiness to help with generally strengthening Ukraine's air defense capabilities and for general support and speeding up the transfer of Mirage aircraft. An explosion on Friday evening damaged a canal in northern Kosovo, supplying water to two coal-fired power plants that generate nearly all of the country's electricity. According to Kosovo Interior Minister, the explosion was a terrorist act and that part of the canal was damaged. There were no immediate reports of injuries and the cause of the blast was not clear, Minister added. Meanwhile, Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti has accused neighboring Serbia of being behind an explosion that damaged a canal in northern Kosovo.
Organet shtetërore janë të angazhuara për të siguruar menaxhimin e situatës, rekuperimin e dëmit dhe zbardhjen e plotë.
State bodies are engaged in managing the situation, repairing the damage and fully clarifying the case. The attack was carried out by professionals. This was another criminal and terrorist attack, which we believe comes from gangs directed and orchestrated by Serbia, which has both the interest, the readiness and the ability to cause such attacks and damage. In this particular case, by using a significant amount of explosives in a critical location where repair is difficult.
Në rastin konkret duke përdorur një sasi të madhe të eksplozivit.
And vote counting begins in Ireland with an exit poll indicating a tight finish between the two main parties, with partial results expected throughout the day. Voters chose a new 174-seat lower chamber of parliament that dealt with the housing crisis dominating the campaign. After voting concluded late Friday, the pro-Irish Unity Sinn Féin party had 21.1% of the vote, neck and neck with the centre-right Fine Gael, led by outgoing Prime Minister Simon Harris, on 21.0%. A final result, however, may take days as Ireland's proportional representation system sees votes of eliminated candidates redistributed during multiple rounds of counting. Now, Georgian police fired water cannon on demonstrators as thousands take to the streets for a second day to protest the government after Georgia's ruling party said it was halting EU accession talks until 2028. European Union accession is overwhelmingly popular in Georgia, according to opinion polls, and the move saw thousands mass outside the parliament building in Tbilisi, dispersed by riot police using water cannon and gas. However, Georgia's pro-Western president Salem Zurabishvili expressed solidarity with the resistance movement that is seeing thousands rally against the government's decision to delay EU membership talks amid a post-election crisis. And World Trade Organization chief Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was reappointed for a second term at a special meeting in Geneva on Friday. Okonjo-Iweala, a former Nigerian finance minister who made history in 2021 by becoming the WTO's first female and first African Director General, announced in September that she would run again, aiming to complete unfinished business. No other candidates ran after her, in fact against her, and all of the WTO's 166 members agreed by consensus to a proposal to reappoint her. Okonjo said she was looking forward to working with the incoming Donald Trump administration and that she saw common ground between them on areas like intellectual property rights.
I'm grateful to the membership for the election to a second term. We have a full agenda to deliver for the people of this world that we are here working for and for the planet. And we fully intend to get to work immediately, no stopping, to try and deliver on these results. I'm grateful for the honor of serving this organization, for the trust that the membership has put in me. Until we get specifics in terms of what is planned, I think it will be a bit premature to try to pronounce on these issues. We look forward to working with the administration. We are grateful to the administration we worked with now. We are looking forward to working with the new administration.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Young union members in Vietnam have launched the Dolls in Ethnic Costumes project since early 2023 to boost and pass on the cultural heritage of Vietnam. Aiming to preserve cultural identity and promoting local tourism, the project reflects the creativity and passion of Ha Giang's youth for their cultural heritage. Young Taylor Swift fans and their parents lined up outside some of Target's nearly 2,000 US stores early on Black Friday to buy copies of a new Eras Tour book and vinyl album. Several customers queued up outside Target stores as early as 5 a.m. GMT in freezing temperatures to buy the Swiftie goodies from the store. Members of New Jeans, one of the most popular K-pop groups, said they were leaving their agency Adore after accusing the agency of mistreatment. This dispute is the latest development in a long-running conflict between former New Jeans producer and Hype's chairman Bang Si-hyuk, which has made headlines in South Korea. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov meets North Korean leader Kim in Pyongyang. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend All India Conference of Director Generals, Inspector Generals of Police. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. The US State Department has approved the potential sale of spare parts for F-16 jets and radars to Taiwan for an estimated $385 million, the Pentagon said on Friday, a day before Taiwan President Lai Ching-te starts a sensitive Pacific trip. The United States is bound by law to provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself despite the lack of formal diplomatic ties between Washington and Taipei, to the constant anger of Beijing. China has been stepping up military pressure against Taiwan, including 2 rounds of war games this year, and security sources said that Beijing may hold more to coincide with Lai's tour of the Pacific, which includes stopovers in Hawaii and Guam, a US territory. The Pentagon's Defense Security Cooperation Agency said the sale consisted of $320 million in spare parts and support for F-16 fighters and active electronically scanned array radars and related equipment. According to the Pentagon, the State Department also approved the potential sale to Taiwan of improved mobile subscriber equipment and support for an estimated $65 million. Last month, the United States announced a potential $2 billion arms sale package to Taiwan, including the delivery of the first time to the island of an advanced air defense missile system battle-tested in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Taiwan President Lai Ching-te begins a week-long Pacific tour on Saturday with stopovers in Hawaii and the U.S. territory of Guam. Lai will visit to the Marshall Islands, Tuvalu and Palau, the only Pacific island nations among Taiwan's 12 remaining allies. It will be Lai's first overseas trip since taking office in May. Taiwanese government officials have previously stopped over on U.S. soil during visits to the Latin America. North Korea state media released still photographs of leader Kim Jong-un meeting with Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov in Pyongyang on Saturday. The still images also showed Kim and Belousov at a banquet and attending a concert. During the meeting, Kim said Ukraine's use of long-range weapons is the result of direct military intervention by the United States and Moscow is entitled to fight in self-defense. Kim pledged to expand ties with Russia in all areas, including military affairs, under the comprehensive strategic partnership he signed with Russian President Vladimir Putin in June. Now, residents in southern Thailand were rescued from their flooded homes by members of Thai army. 9 people have died as severe flooding continues in southern Thailand. Flooding triggered by heavy rains have left 4 people dead and affected more than 240,000 of households in southern Thailand. The military rescuers used boats to transport the flood victims through waist-high flood waters. And Sri Lanka's consumer prices fell by 2.1% in November, the highest deflation rate recorded by the economically fragile island nation since 1961, official data showed on Saturday. An unprecedented financial crash in 2022 brought months of consumer goods shortages, with inflation peaking at nearly 70% that year. Since then, a $2.9 billion bailout loan from the International Monetary Fund, tax hikes and other austerity measures have slowly made headway in repairing the island's economy. Sri Lanka's central bank said inflation was likely to return to its target level of 5% in the coming months. Sri Lanka had already seen deflation of 0.8% in October and 0.5% in September. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake, who was elected in September, has vowed to maintain the IMF bailout program negotiated by his predecessor that includes higher taxes and cuts to state spending. And back home, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend the All India Conference of Director Generals and Inspector Generals of Police from 30th November to 1st December at Bhubaneswar in Odisha. The conference will include deliberations on critical components of national security, including counter-terrorism, left-wing extremism, new criminal laws and narcotics. And the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Service will be awarded during the conference. The conference will also be attended by Union Home Minister Amit Shah, and the conference will provide an interactive platform for senior police professionals and security administrators in the country to freely discuss and debate diverse national security-related issues, as also various operational, infrastructural and welfare-related problems faced by the police in India. Its deliberations will include formulation and sharing of professional practices and processes in tackling challenges relating to crime control and law and order management, besides internal security threats. As Cyclone Fengal intensifies over the Bay of Bengal and heads towards landfall near Puducherry, Tamil Nadu authorities have issued urgent advisories and implemented key safety measures. Cyclone Fengal is predicted to make landfall on Saturday afternoon, with winds potentially reaching speeds of up to 90 km per hour. India's Weather Department predicts that the cyclonic storm will move west-northwestwards and cross North Tamil Nadu Puducherry coast close to Puducherry with a wind speed of 70 to 80 km per hour, gusting to 90 km per hour during the afternoon. The approaching storm, which is expected to bring heavy rainfall and strong winds, has led the state government to close schools and colleges in several districts, halt public transport services. Cyclone Fengal, which intensified into a cyclonic storm on November 29, is predicted to make landfall between Karaikal and Mahabalipuram near Puducherry around midday. Meanwhile, flight operations at Chennai Airport has been suspended due to Cyclone Fengal. And India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar is set to visit Arunachal Pradesh on Saturday for a day-long trip, marking his second tour to the state since assuming office. The Vice President will visit Doimukh and Itanagar in Arunachal Pradesh. He will be the chief guest at the 22nd convocation ceremony of the Rajiv Gandhi University in Doimukh. He will also address the Special Assembly session of Arunachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly at Itanagar. During the visit, the Vice President had last visited Arunachal Pradesh in February this year to participate in the Statehood Day celebrations. And the India-Singapore bilateral military exercise Agni Warrior 2024, which had commenced on November 28 in Maharashtra, is to conclude today. The primary objective of the exercise is to enhance professional military interactions between the artillery units of India and Singapore. The exercise comes a month after Dr. Eng Hen, Singapore's Minister of Defence, visited India to co-chair the 6th India-Singapore Defence Ministers Dialogue in New Delhi with his counterpart Rajnath Singh. With 2025 set to mark 60 years of diplomatic relations between India and Singapore, both ministers had agreed to further step up defence cooperation and achieve new milestones. Now, India and ADB have signed a $98 million loan agreement to enhance plant health management in India's horticulture. The project aims to improve farmers' access to disease-free planting materials, boosting crop yield and quality. It addresses climate challenges by helping farmers adapt to rising temperatures and changing pest behaviors. Clean plant centers with advanced diagnostic labs and trained experts will maintain disease-free materials. A clean plant certification scheme will accredit private nurseries and certify planting materials. The Ministry of Agriculture, National Horticulture Board and ICAR will oversee the project implementation. Now in sports, Indian chess grandmaster D. Gukesh will take on China's reigning world champion Ding Liren in the Game 5 of FIDE World Chess Championship 2024 on Saturday afternoon. Earlier on Friday, Gukesh held Liren to a draw in the Game 4 of the championship. The game ended in a draw after 42 moves as D. Gukesh, playing with black pieces, overcame a shaky initial phase in Singapore. The World Championship match is tied at 2-2 after 4 games. The first player to reach 7.5 points over 14 games will win the prestigious title. And two-time Olympic medalist and former world number 2 PV Sindhu will take on young shuttler Unnati Huda in the semi-finals of the Syed Modi International Super 300 badminton tournament on Saturday. On Friday, Sindhu appeared to have learned from her previous struggles in the tournament, playing her best game so far in an easy 21-15, 21-17 win against China's Wang Dai. Meanwhile, Unnati started tentatively against Ishika Jaiswal in the first game before breezing through the second for a 21-16, 21-9 win. In men's singles, second seed Priyanshu Rajawat will take on Singapore's fourth seed Jia Heng Jason Te in the semi-finals. And big setback for Australia ahead of second test at Adelaide from December 6 as Josh Hazlewood was ruled out. According to a Cricket Australia statement, the speedster has a low-grade left side injury. Sean Abbott and Brendan Doggett have been added to the Australian squad. Australia is already without regular all-rounder Cameron Green, who was ruled out of the 5-match series after opting to have surgery on a stress fracture. Hazlewood was Australia's highest wicket taker in the first test, taking 5 wickets over 2 innings. However, the host side ended up losing the game by 295 runs. Now, 30th November marks 167th birth anniversary of Jagdish Chandra Bose, whose contributions in the field of science has left an everlasting impression. DD India's Priya Yadav reports.
There is absolutely no denying that polymath Jagdish Chandra Bose was really ahead of his time. His work laid the foundation for today's high-speed 5G internet nearly a century before it became reality. Jagdish Chandra Bose was a Bengali scientist, botanist, and a physicist. From plants to physics, Sir Bose showed the world that India had its own way of doing science. He was the founder of modern science in the Indian subcontinent. Bose Institute, that was set up in 1917 by Jagdish Chandra Bose, is Asia's first modern research center devoted to interdisciplinary research and bears a century-old tradition of research excellence.
Bose Institute continues to lead Indian science for the past 107 years, fulfilling the dreams of our founder director Acharya J.C. Bose.
Jagdish Chandra Bose made a remarkable discovery that found out that plants can move in response to stimuli. For his remarkable contributions in the field of science and technology, he was awarded with a number of honors, not just in India, but even outside of it. In 1903, British government made Bose a Companion of Order of the Indian Empire. In 1904, Bose became the first Asian who was awarded a US patent. In 1912, Bose was made a Companion of the Order of the Star of India. In 1917, Bose was knighted. In 1920, Bose became a Fellow of the Royal Society. He was the first Indian scientist to receive this honor in the field of physics. In 2012, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers recognized Bose as the father of radio and wireless communication. On Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose's 167th birth anniversary, let's celebrate this global visionary whose contributions continue to impact every aspect of modern existence. Priya Yadav for DD India.
And India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. That's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. You stay tuned for more news and updates. Namaskar.